Most men miss the moment she silently chooses them, not because they're blind, but because they were never taught what to look for. Today, that changes. If you're tired of guessing and ready to see the truth behind her silence, hit subscribe. At Dark Manipulation Tricks, we don't chase, we decode. Let me share with you a quiet truth that most men never realize until it's far too late. There's an invisible game unfolding all around you right now. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it is powerful. And it's not played with words or confessions. It's a silent dance, one of glances, of body language, of breath and stillness. And here's what the majority of men overlook. The very signals they wait for are already present. They just don't appear in the language you're expecting. You assume attraction announces itself through flirtation or compliments. But the truth? The real indicators are subtle, buried in behavior, quiet, soft, and often unconscious. Over the past decade, I've spent more time than I'd care to admit observing these patterns, not only through books, but in coffee shops, gyms, offices, in the silent space between glances at dinner tables. And what I've discovered is this. There are two specific signs, two nuanced behaviors that reveal when a woman isn't just interested. She's deeply, even obsessively, drawn to you. Sometimes, despite herself. She won't say it. She may not even consciously realize it. But her body will reveal it, if you know how to read the signs. That's exactly why we're here. Because right now, there may be someone in your life, a colleague, a friend, someone you see every Thursday at the cafe, and she's sending you messages you haven't learned to notice. That ends now. No more walking past hidden chances. No more overlooking a language you were never taught to speak. Today, I'll give you something I wish I had earlier in my own journey. The ability to walk into a room and instantly sense, without a word spoken, who is already drawn to you. Because desire doesn't always speak out loud, but it always leaves a trace in her breath, her posture, her subtle movements, and in the way she unconsciously mirrors you. Once you recognize these two signals, it will feel like a veil has been lifted. You'll step into a secret world that was always there, hidden in plain sight. And suddenly, everything begins to make sense. The cold shoulder? Not rejection, but a test. The delayed text? A deliberate pause to measure your strength. That moment she brings up another man just as you lean closer. Not dismissal, but a trigger. A prompt to see how you'll respond. This isn't about manipulation. It's not about chasing validation. This is about understanding. Reading a language rooted not in logic, but in biology. Because attraction, at its core, isn't a choice. It's a survival instinct. And once you can read it, you stop chasing. You start choosing. Welcome to the Dark Manipulation Tricks. We don't play games. We don't seek approval. We study the truth beneath human behavior. And today, you'll learn the first two signals of that truth. Before we begin, if any part of this already speaks to you, subscribe to the channel. Every week, we explore real psychological principles of attraction, inner strength, and calm masculine presence. Drop a comment below with the word decode if you're ready to start seeing what most people completely overlook. Because after this, you'll never see women, or yourself, the same way again. Let's begin with the first sign. Sign 1. The mirror in the silence. Sometimes, a woman doesn't verbalize how she feels, but her body does. Not in dramatic gestures or obvious clues, but in the quiet way her rhythm starts to match yours. When a woman is deeply drawn to a man, something silent takes over. It's not planned. It's not intentional. It's primal. She begins to mirror you. At first, you won't even notice it, but once you do, you'll see it everywhere. She echoes your movements, your tone, your posture, even your breathing. Not because she's trying to be agreeable, but because her nervous system is responding to your presence. This isn't speculation. In 2003, researchers from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology released a groundbreaking study. They called it social glue. The concept was simple. When people unconsciously mimic each other, gestures, expressions, vocal patterns, it creates trust, connection, and even attraction. The more emotionally engaged someone feels, the faster and more precise their mirroring becomes. So, when a woman begins to sync with you frame by frame without even realizing it, that's not coincidence. That's her subconscious tuning in to you. Let's ground this in reality. Imagine a quiet cafe. You're seated across from her. The lighting is soft. The room still. You lean forward slightly to speak, and 3 seconds later, she does the same. You touch your chin in thought, and moments later, her fingers brush her cheek. You pause. She pauses. It's as if something invisible is choreographing the moment, breath for breath, even down to your blinking. You blink. She follows, not instantly, but in perfect rhythm. It may sound poetic, but it's actually biological resonance. And here's the deeper layer. The stronger her attraction, the shorter the delay between your action and her reaction. So, how do you test this? Start simple. Spend the first 5 minutes just observing her natural behavior, her posture, her gestures, her expressions. That's her baseline. Then, deliberately make a small shift. Lean back, cross your arms, adjust your body. Watch closely. Does she subtly adjust her posture within seconds? Next, go even more subtle. Scratch your wrist, tilt your head, touch your watch. If she reflects these movements soon after, you're not just having a conversation. You're sharing a subconscious connection. But here's what most men miss. Mirroring works both ways. You can lead or you can follow. For example, by matching her breathing rhythm during a calm exchange, you create a non-verbal bond, one that bypasses her logical thinking and speaks directly to her emotional core. Think of it as aligning your presence with her internal frequency. When done correctly, it makes her feel seen without a single word spoken. Here's a fascinating variation. Delayed mirroring. Say she mimics your movement, but 30 to 60 seconds later. That's not rejection, it's resistance. It means her body feels the pull, but her mind is hesitating, fighting what it's beginning to feel. In that delay, her body reveals what her words won't admit. That's the beauty of it. Words can deceive, intentions can be hidden, but the body always whispers the truth. Mirroring is one of those whispers, a secret message that seeps out from the cracks in logic. So, what should you do? Don't call it out. Don't react. Just observe. Remain calm, still, unmoved. Because the Stoic man doesn't chase validation. He reads between the lines. He listens with his eyes. And he knows. Sometimes the body says what the soul is too afraid to express. Sign 2. The silent jealousy test. When a woman begins to feel something deeper, she often won't say it outright. Instead, she tests it. Not through logic, but through emotion. Not to harm you, but because deep down, she needs to know what kind of man you truly are. This test doesn't always look like a challenge. It often appears as distance, indifference, or discomfort. But underneath, desire, unsure of safety. It's called the jealousy trap, and most men fall right into it. Let's break it down step by step. Phase 1. The subtle retreat. You're having a great moment, laughing, connecting, when suddenly she says something like, "Your friend Sarah seems really cool. You two close?" Or she sees you talking to another woman and instantly shifts. Crossed arms, shorter replies, subtle withdrawal. Most men panic. They sense distance and try to close the gap by chasing harder or over-explaining. But in truth, what's happening is ancient. Her nervous system, shaped by millions of years of evolution, is watching your response. She's testing your emotional stability, not through words, but through space. It's not rejection, it's an invitation to remain composed. Phase 2. The probe. Next comes the deeper test. She'll make casual comments designed to provoke a reaction. You probably like girls like her, right? She seems more your type. These aren't statements, they're hidden questions. And your response, spoken or unspoken, reveals everything. This is where most men crumble. They get defensive, they over-explain, they seek reassurance. But the Stoic response? Calm, minimal, unbothered. She's cool, or even, yeah, she's attractive. Not to provoke jealousy, but because you're not seeking approval. That quiet self-assurance communicates more value than any attempt to explain ever could. Phase 3. The proximity play. This is when she escalates the test. She starts standing closer to other men when you're nearby. Mentions a guy who asked her out. Laughs loudly so you'll overhear her. Then, a quick glance, just a flicker, toward you. What she's really doing is crafting a scenario to see, will you break? Will you lose composure? Will you become possessive? If you do, she retreats, insecurity revealed. But if you remain still, relaxed, smiling, unfazed, you pass the test. That's when her behavior shifts. She re-engages, finds excuses to touch your arm, laughs more around you, comes closer again, because you didn't flinch, and that quiet self-possession triggered more attraction than any clever line ever could. Why does this happen? You might wonder, why the tests? Why not just express how she feels? Because feelings are fragile. Vulnerability is risky, especially in attraction. So instead of declaring it, biology speaks through defense mechanisms formed over generations. Testing provides safety. Jealousy creates tension. But your reaction is the signal. The man who remains centered, who doesn't beg for clarity or react emotionally. That's the man she instinctively trusts, not for his reaction, but for his restraint. Real-world examples. Once your eyes are trained, you'll see these patterns everywhere. The barista who casually mentions her boyfriend after you flirt. Not rejection, but a subtle challenge. The coworker who suddenly remarks that you've been talking to her a lot lately, when she used to ignore you. That's not a dismissal. That's a detour. She wants to see if you'll stay steady. The Stoic spirit response. You don't play along. You don't explain. You don't justify. You simply observe. Nod. Smile. Because real power doesn't scream. It breathes deeply and watches everything. The Stoic man knows, in quiet moments, true value is revealed. From chaser to chosen. This is how you shift, from seeking her approval to becoming the man she chooses. By recognizing the tests for what they are and refusing to react emotionally, you show her what 95% of men cannot. Calm in chaos, stillness under pressure. and that's what makes you unforgettable. Not because you did more, but because you resisted the urge to do anything at all. And in that stillness, she found her answer. So now, you see it. What you once mistook for rejection was actually a test. What seemed like confusion was her curiosity, silently wondering, is he worthy of my heart? The rare man stays still. He doesn't chase. He allows her to see who he is under pressure. And in that silence, she feels safe. She feels drawn. She feels something rare, respect. So tell me, have you ever mistaken a test for rejection? Comment the word "still" below if you're ready to hold your ground the next time it happens. And if this message resonated, tap like and subscribe to Stoic Spirit for more insights into presence, power, and the real psychology of attraction. And always remember, the most powerful response is no response at all. Before you go, take a moment and reflect. What you just heard isn't a trick. It's not a strategy. It's truth, the kind most men never get to learn. Not because it's hidden, but because no one ever taught them how to see it. Attraction isn't magic. It's biology. It's pattern. It's psychology shaped by evolution. Now you see it. You've taken a step most men never take. You've learned to read what's not said. And that makes all the difference. So, if this opened your eyes, share it with one man in your life who still thinks she's just not interested. Maybe your brother. Maybe your best friend. Someone who deserves clarity more than comfort. And if you felt this message settle deep in you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more insights on masculine presence, emotional resilience, and quiet power. Because remember, the strongest signals are never shouted. They're whispered in glances, pauses, and subtle tests. Most will miss them, but not you. Because now you're seeing with stoic eyes.